Hello everybody, I'm your host Ryan, and today we're going to be making my personal favorite Persian dish, Tachine. Now, I wouldn't exactly call myself a culinary expert, but today is going to be my first attempt at making this, and if I'm able to learn it today, then I'm going to be making this dish a lot more often. Let's just say that. So, with a lot of help from my mom, here's every single ingredient that we need to make tachine. 6 cups of rice, salt, pepper, a cinnamon stick and powder, yogurt, 3 eggs, half a cup of oil, 2 onions, barberry and saffron, 2 things you can buy from Persian stores, and finally, butter. Now, the first step is that we need to make saffron, which here we have it all grounded up, which we are going to use. We also need boiling water, which we have here, and finally a small cup like this. So the first step is we're going to pour a little bit of water. A very small amount. Next, we're going to pour in our saffron. Like so. Then, we need to warm it up. I'm going to show you guys that from a different angle. So, we're going to put this on the warmer of your stove and put the lid on, as we're gonna brew it just like tea. So, here, we're just gonna turn it on and let it brew. According to my mom, we're doing this so that we can get the aroma of saffron and help enhance the flavor of our tachine. Next, we're gonna move on to the chicken part of our dish. So first, we need to cut up 2 onions. Now, here's how I like to cut my onions. First, I cut it in half like that, and then I'll cut it like so. I wouldn't say my cutting form is the best, but I would definitely say that it's acceptable, to say the least. Also, make sure your saffron is on the burner for around 10 to 15 minutes. After that, you can just turn it off. When making our chicken, we want to, at the same time, pour in our onions, chicken, 1 cinnamon stick, some lemon and pepper seasoning, 2 spoons of salt, 1 spoon of pepper, and finally 2 cups of water. Now we'll put it on high, and this will be going for around an hour, and then at the 30-minute mark we're going to be adding some saffron. Also, as you're doing this, once your chicken starts to boil, put it on medium. Now we're going to make an important component of tachine. To make this, we're going to need to add in our cup of yogurt. Then we're going to have 1 whole egg, as well as 2 eggs where we separate the egg yolk. Do this until we separate the rest of the egg from the yolk, and then we add it in. Now we're going to grab our whisk and mix. We're going to mix until it becomes one homogeneous mixture. Search up what homogeneous means, kids. You'll make your science teacher happy. This is going to get me a nice forearm pump. Then we're going to add our saffron until we get an orange color. Now remember to save some for your chicken as well, because we're going to need it. Once you get a color like this, we're just going to mix. And once you're done mixing, we're just going to add a little bit of salt. Once your water has boiled and you've strained out your rice, you're simply going to pour all of the rice into the pot. We're going to let this rice cook for 5 minutes. After that 5-minute mark, we're gonna check to see if the rice is around halfway cooked. If it is, we can take it out. If it isn't, give it another 2 minutes. Because we don't want it to be fully cooked, as we don't want to have a mushy flavor. It's gonna be a little crispy once the dish is done. You know your rice is half cooked when you can squish your rice a little bit, but it's still pretty hard. So, as you may not be able to tell the exact texture from this video, just know that around 5 to 7 minutes is enough time for cooking your rice halfway. But you have to pull it out very quickly, or else then it's going to get fully cooked and you might ruin your dish. Or you might ruin your tachine. Next, we're going to prepare the dish which we're going to put into our oven. To do that, we're going to put in 5 drops of oil. Then we're going to grab our brush and we're going to smother the oil around the entirety of the dish. This will allow for a satisfying cook to our tachine all around the entire dish. Now, while our oven is preheating for around 20 minutes at 400 degrees Fahrenheit, we're going to be turning our whole chicken into pulled chicken. So you can simply grab 2 forks and start prying the chicken apart so it turns into smaller chicken strips. Tachine is kind of like a lasagna. You guys will see in a second. It's layered. Now it's time to add our cinnamon powder. And then we mix. Now we're going to be making the layers. So what we're going to do is we're going to grab a whole bunch of rice, then we're going to dip it into our mixture and dunk it within our yogurt. Then we squeeze the rice by the side so that we get all of the juice out and only have the rice. And then we add it to here until we have a first layer of rice established, where we'll then add our chicken. Also, halfway through, you can add a small layer of normal rice to make sure that we don't have it overpowered with the yogurt and saffron flavor. This adds a nice balance to our food. In fact, I can add even a little bit more regular rice. Here's what around our first layer should look like, being around this thick and even all around. Now we're going to be adding our layer of chicken. Here we grab our chicken and we start spreading it all around. When I'm making my tachine, I don't like the center to be too meaty, or else then you don't get the rice flavor, which is kind of the main component of this dish. So I'm gonna add just a thin layer of chicken all around, and I'll be showing you guys from my second POV what it's meant to look like. This is what it should look like. Now it's time to add our third and final layer to our tachine, which is essentially just adding our rice on top of the chicken. Make sure you add a decent amount of yogurt and regular covered rice. One final thing we need to do before we fully make our tachine is add some butter on top. This enhances the flavor of our tachine by a mile. So let's add a few bits of butter. And just like that, we are looking at a real beauty. It's time to finally make our tachine. Now, for the final part, we need to cook our barberry, which we're gonna put onto our tachine. First step, we need to melt some butter. Also, remember to wash out your barberry as sometimes there can be small rocks in there, as well as dust, which you want to clean out. Now we pour. And we let it cook for 2 minutes before we add some maple syrup. So we're going to turn it off, and we're going to add in our maple syrup. This allows us to remove the sour taste from the barberry. This is the perfect garnish for tachine. This is our final product. So, let's add some of our barberry onto the tachine, and look at that beauty. Finally, it's time for a taste test. Let's dig in. Nine out of 10. It's perfect. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode, and if you guys are planning on making this yourself, I hope you enjoy the recipe.